Hey, hi everyone. My name is Vishnu, and thanks for tuning into the session. Today I'll be talking about agentic commerce for all of India, basically. Some quick questions here. How many of y'all used any kind of LLM through today? How many of y'all have used it more than 5 times a day on the last few months? Pretty much a lot of you. How many of y'all trust AI a little bit more than your friends when it comes to recommendations of where to eat, where to travel? Quite a few again. How many of y'all would allow AI to make a payment on your behalf? Still less, right? So I think we're at the cusp of where India is going to adopt conversational commerce and agentic commerce. So while we've gotten to know about you a little bit, let's get to know about India a little bit, right? So as most of y'all know, these are big numbers. All of y'all know that we have about 1.4 billion Aadhaar users, 950 million internet users, 650 million smartphone users, but 400 million users who actually transact online on payments. That's pretty large. 400 million users doing UPI payments is more than a cluster of countries in the world. But let's understand those 400 million users, right? Out of 400, only 200 million actually transact online, which is when we say e-commerce, when we say quick commerce, it's 200 million out of the 400 who are transacting online. And even from the 200, it's only about 10 million who contribute to 80% of all GMV, right? And that data we see on Razorpay's platform itself. So let that sink in. While all of us, especially in B2C, are building for 1 billion Indians, 500 million mobile phone users, it's only 10 million who actually contribute to the 10 million, all of the e-commerce GMV that you see today. And so let's understand why that's happening, right? If we look at India, it's very unique. We're obviously AI native users, AI adopters, cutting edge individuals who use technology. But if you look at larger India, maybe think about our parents, a couple of generations prior to us. Most of them are used to conversing before they make a purchase, right? They go to a Kirana store, discover what they want, ask about what's new, haggle a bit about prices, and then make their purchase. That's how India has always consumed. And so it's been a little tricky as we've brought in online commerce for the larger India. And India in general is used to voice. So while WhatsApp is an instant messaging chat app, I don't know how many of y'all know that most people use WhatsApp using voice. So India contributes to more than 50% of voice messages for WhatsApp globally, right? So people outside of this room are actually using voice to voice versus chatting. And while all of us have historically used Google search to discover things, most of India, if you go to, say, Jaipur or Jaisalmer or even to, tier 2, tier 3 cities in South India, you'll see they use YouTube as search. Because for them to navigate Google and go through those flows is a little more complex. They're intimidated by it. And so YouTube becomes a default search engine in tier 2, tier 3 India, and that's how they learn, through audio and video. So in this part of India where there is a little bit of us, which is the 10 million, who are super savvy, and then there is another 200 million who've just about come online, and another 200 million who are actually on Moj and looking at reels but not making a purchase online, we're at a unique situation where we're super excited about e-commerce, but we're still just at the cusp of it, right? So let's take a couple of categories. Let's take travel, for example. If any of you want to travel, I'm sure you just open Make My Trip and book a flight, right? But still, about 50 billion of travel goes through online, through physical brokers. So people go through their nearest physical broker, a physical agent, travel agent, and say, hey, I want to book a flight. What flights can I get? What's the best prices? Where should I travel to? And then make their purchase. Although Policy Bazaar is one of the best companies I admire, it's still only 10% of insurances that are sold in India online. Everything else is via physical brokers. So it's a very interesting place where there's a large part of India that doesn't operate like us at all. I'll give you an example of my father. When my father wants to make a trip, let's say out of India, he doesn't actually go to Make My Trip. He calls his local agent, who's a travel agency, and says, hey, I want to go to Southeast Asia. What's the best country there? Okay, Vietnam. What's cool about Vietnam? I saw it on Instagram. Okay, what does Vietnam have in terms of activities? What's the weather like? What's the budgets for hotels, flights? And then that person curates a package for him. And when that happens, my dad actually calls me and then asks, hey, Vishnu, what do you think about it? Right? So there's this whole process, and I'm sure this is relatable to a lot of you, because that's how India consumes when it comes to complex decisions. And then I help my dad saying, hey, no, these prices are not good. Hey, maybe, try and book flights off Make My Trip and maybe the rest from this agency. It's a whole mess. But that's how, investments are made. That's how travel plans are booked. That's how a lot of times your insurance policies are sold. And I think that's really going to go through change. And why is that so? To summarize, I think there's three big things. One, India is voice first. Second, India is multilingual. We have 22 plus languages. And third, we're really an assisted market, which is a do-it-for-me market. We're not very used to do it yourself. And that is why I think AI is going to change the game. So now my dad doesn't have to call me. He can just have an AI travel agent who he talks to, asks the same questions, and gets much smarter answers because AI is smarter than both me and that physical travel agent now, right? And in any domain, AI is going to be smart, an AI agent is going to be smarter. So can assist my father through all the decisions he had to, all the questions he'd ask me or that travel agent. He would actually curate it because AI also can personalize and customize journeys depending on your context and finally lead to a purchase. And so I see a lot of unlock that's going to happen over the next 6 to 9 months. I'm not even talking about years or decades. And we feel like Razorpay has some role to play, so we're going to do our bit in the journey. Now, as you think through this, you might ask, okay, what about fraud, right? If you're going to try and automate everything via agents, how do you trust it? It's actually interesting. That same physical travel agency is actually the most likely to missell something to my father in that example, right? Because their incentives and our incentives are not necessarily aligned. The same insurance broker who my dad has probably taken a term plan from is is in a spot to easily missell, upsell, or even do any kind of fraud. So AI actually, now think of this same scenario where he has an AI agent. There can be an AI clone for my dad on the same phone to sit with his context and protect him from any kind of misselling, phishing, cyber fraud, or scams. So it could actually look at the messages that come in and say, hey, don't click on this link, or this is probably not the best package for you when you're thinking of a choice you want to make. And so I truly believe AI will also make trust scalable. And now if you combine the two, which is accessibility and trust, it can create a whole new world of consumption. And I think that's where we're headed. While I've sold you a pretty rosy picture, let's actually see what's happening today, right? India is actually already the second largest adopter of ChatGPT. I'm sure all of you all know it. All of you are clearly the power users of it. We're also 3x faster on voice. If you take a product like Whisperflow, if any of you have used it, they see massive users from India, and they're going to be doing something interesting here too. You take any of the tech-first companies, you see pretty interesting use cases already. Bajaj Finserv, in their last earnings call, I don't know how many of you all heard, have actually automated a lot of their processes using AI agents. They did about 20 million loan disbursals using AI agents. You take Seco, and all of these are our partners, so we work with them across use cases. You take Seco, which is an edutainment platform. They've actually completely unlocked supply and created educational short-form content using AI, and people are actually coming and listening to it and paying for it. JAR, which is a micro-investments app, is actually doing PFM, personal finance management, for a large part of India that never had access to it using AI. And Vodafone, which is my favorite one. Vodafone has 300 million consumers on its app. How many Vodafone users here, can I ask? How many Airtel users? Okay, a lot more. Clearly, Airtel has 80% market share in this room. But Vodafone still has 300 million users in the country. But still, majority of them actually go to the local Kirana and try to ask, okay, what kind of top-up should I make? Whether they want internet, whether they want talk time, whether they want something international, whether they want a free Jio Hotstar subscription, all that conversations happen at the store. Unlike us, who would just do a top-up on our app or even move to postpaid. So that's the reality of India, and each of these are changing it. The Vodafone one is special because we've actually built something with them, and I'll just show it to you in a minute. So think of the same interface. This is the Vodafone app. It's the same questions they'd ask at the store, right, in the kiosk. And answering whatever questions they have, they can make a payment in a click of a button using UPI Razorpay or UPI Circle. And done. Hopefully in a year or two, Vodafone will not have to open millions of more kiosks across the country, and all of it will happen on its app. And while this is an interesting example I showed you for people who are not in this room, which is larger India, let me actually show you an example of what people in this room could do. This is basically me or a friend of mine hosting a party and trying to discover what they need for the party, whether it's some food, drinks, party equipment. Let's assume on Claude for this example, but you could do it on anything, ChatGPT, Gemini. So in a couple months from now, guys, all of you can, with 3 clicks on any LLM, purchase whatever you want from all of the largest platforms. Each of these platforms have their own protocols in terms of how you can build apps to get embedded within the ecosystems. But the interesting part is that in about 6 months from now, hopefully another 100 million users from that 600 million come on and transact, and hopefully the 180, 190 million users who weren't contributing so much to online consumption versus were doing it offline will see significant unlock online. So it's a very exciting time, and I know a lot of y'all are building infrastructure tools to enable a lot of this in the country, and I hope we see a lot of that happening over the next 6 to 9 months. So let's build together, guys, and thank you for giving me your time.